You are about to meet some very special children involved in a very special program. Kids through who no fault of their own were on a difficult path, some towards a very uncertain future. They have all been redirected towards a brighter life through the intensive and compassionate efforts of the staff and instructors at the Fort Wayne Center for Learning. All of this is made possible by the support of generous foundations, loyal corporate sponsors, many volunteers, a hardworking staff, and of course, you.
Why do you want to screw up your lives by taking on such a problem?
Those are the words of a Russian judge to Jane and Mike Vondran when they were attempting to adopt a little boy.
I couldn't believe my ears. I couldn't believe that somebody, I had seen this child. He had just stole my heart. I thought, how can you look at this child and say, he's a problem? He's not a problem. He's a little boy with a problem.
Thankfully, Jonah was adopted and arrived in a loving home in Fort Wayne with a lot of baggage. A victim of fetal alcohol syndrome, he also suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder, attention deficit disorder, and a host of sensory issues. His parents did everything they could to help him past his physical, neurological, and learning difficulties, which eventually led them to the Fort Wayne Center for Learning. Jane Vondran admits the instructors faced a big project when Jonah walked through the doors.
Oh, and what they still face sometimes, but not nearly as often. Oh, he growls. At one point, I remember he stabbed one of the teachers in the hand with a pencil. He would throw things. But all of that, as he's gotten to be more confident in learning and what he can learn, he is much more in control of himself.
Jonah, a boy who likes to wear costumes, remembers it much differently.
It was really fun and I was kind of nervous because it was my first time and I never been to a only two people school.
Jonah is referring to the one-on-one intensive nature of the educational programs at the Fort Wayne Center for Learning. Jane says she saw the results of that type of instruction as she sat in on a recent class while Jonah was reading.
He sat there, and it was a grade appropriate book, and he read it. And when he got done reading what they wanted him to read, he said, "Can I read some more?" And my eyes just filled with tears. I just was so overwhelmed that the fact is that he could read it, he enjoyed reading it, and he wanted to read some more.
Unfortunately, Jonah is far from the only child in Fort Wayne with these types of needs. By age 2.5, Gabe Rodriguez had lost both parents and moved in with his grandparents. His grandfather died soon after, leaving his grandmother overwhelmed, caring for a toddler and an adult daughter with special needs. It was apparent by kindergarten that Gabe was far behind his peers. The school system tested him and determined he had an IQ of 54. They told his new mom that Gabe would be lucky to write his name by the time he graduated high school. His new family did see hope for Gabe, and their search for help eventually led them through the doors of the Fort Wayne Center for Learning.
First time I met Gabe was when he came in and he wasn't really speaking clear sentences, broken words at most, and his vocabulary was so low that he couldn't really express himself, so it was more making his words as loud as he could when he was angry and, sitting off by himself when he didn't really feel like talking to anyone.
Today, Gabe is beginning to read and write, and he has made marked progress in his social development. And about that prediction that Gabe would be lucky to write his name when he left high school,
I can write my name.
lives are changed every day at the Fort Wayne Center for Learning. One of the first was Emily Kunzes. She entered this center in the 9th grade with the reading ability of a first-grade student. Months later, she had advanced 2 years in her ability to read and has made steady improvements since. In fact, the Fort Wayne Center for Learning helped her prepare for her written test at the Indiana Bureau of Motor Vehicles.
I didn't pass it the first time, but I passed it the second time. Then I had to take the driving test again, and then I got my license.
She's going to be someone. She's got a job lined up, and she's got a graduation ceremony coming up this year, and she has hope for herself and her life. And very much of that is thanks to the Fort Wayne Center for Learning.
After the Fort Wayne Center for Learning, what began as a frustrating journey towards a dark future changed into something else. A life full of promise. No more darkness. Just a world seen in a whole new light.
Every child learns differently, but their right to learn is the same. At the center, we don't just teach. Children can overcome their learning difficulties because of the proven programs that we do and because of the commitment and the continuous training that all of our instructors get, because of the one-on-one instruction that is intensive, and because of the supportive parents. That combination is lethal when it comes to helping children overcome their learning challenges.
He's a bright little man. He just has to learn in a different way. And that's what he's getting there.
Thank you.